bring in Mike Florio, the popular co-host of Pro Football Talk Live. You can see that preceding our show on Peacock with Chris Sims. And his new book, Playmakers, must read. It's coming out March 15th. Can be purchased online wherever books are sold. Who's going to be upset by this book, Mike, when it comes out?
Everybody.
Yeah?
No, I don't know. Look, it was funny because my wife was reading a draft of it last summer, and when she finished it, she said, "This is really going to piss a lot of people off." And I said, it's nothing that I haven't said or written before. It's just all collected in one spot. So anybody that has a problem with it, it's their problem, because it's my honest assessment of the way the NFL operates. And the NFL is the greatest product from a sports standpoint in the country, if not on the planet, because no matter what it does by way of making missteps, unforced errors, controversies, scandals, things that have been mishandled from a business standpoint, it's still making more money than anything else, still gathering a live audience like nothing else. It almost has to try to impede its progress. And even if it tries, it's still going to continue to grow and grow and grow, Dan.
But I remember when Mark Cuban came out and said, that the NFL's got to be careful. When you're adding Thursday night football, and I think he was talking about hogs get fat and get slaughtered. Can you see an oversaturation at any point with the NFL?
I remember that well. Pigs could get fat, hogs get slaughtered. And for a while, I was concerned about that. But I just think our appetite for football has not yet reached the point where anyone would say, okay, that's enough. We always want more. No matter how much more we get, we want more. The transition to Thursday was a little clunky, and there were concerns about it from a health standpoint. And those are real concerns. And there were players who complained about it. Richard Sherman called it a poop fest, one of my all-time favorite quotes from any player. But you know what? The NFL just keeps its head down, keeps going, and now Thursday night is baked in to the schedule. We would be feeling as if something's off if we didn't have Thursday night football. And you just have to wonder, as the season continues to grow, and I think 18 games is just a matter of time, will they look for other windows? Tuesday night, Wednesday night, what else will they do? Because Dan, with legalized gambling is going to drive this bus. They're going to look for ways to have more one game at a time that millions can watch and bet on, not just the bigger wagers, one play at a time, the technology that will beam the games into our houses. So as we're watching it, it's exactly what's happening at the stadium. We get 40 seconds between plays to make our next bet. It basically becomes a casino that invades your home whenever there's a game on. So I think they're going to expand the season, and they're going to spread out the windows so people can tune in for more of these games. So those opportunities for people to bet will be maximized.
Could you see us exporting the Super Bowl in the next decade?
I'd be stunned if it happens. I think they like to talk about it from time to time. I think it's part of the tease that the NFL engages in with the UK, just to get them thinking, well, maybe someday we'll have the Super Bowl. I mean, how can you play the Super Bowl at 11:30 p.m. local time kickoff? How could you do that? That's what they would have to do if they're going to play a Super Bowl in London at some point. Now, to the average American fan, it doesn't matter. It looks the same on the TV. All the London games look the same. It's no big deal. 99% of the fans or more aren't going to ever go to a Super Bowl in their lifetime. They're watching it on TV. It doesn't matter where it's played. But I think the allure of that helps grow the sport internationally. And before you get to a point where a Super Bowl is played in a place like London, you'd have to have a team there. And I think that continues to be this vague promise that's on the table. And I think there would be two teams. They got two NFL stadiums. And I think if there was ever one team in London, there'd be two teams in London.
All right, let me get to the poll question today. Seton, would you give Mike Florio the wording on our poll question today?
Yesterday's letter from Kyler Murray's agent was best for the Cardinals or Kyler?
Is there a C? Neither. I mean, I don't think it really helps anybody. But it's how about this? The rest of us, because it allows the rest of us to understand what's really going on here. These vague reports we've seen in recent weeks, Kyler Murray taking the team off of his social media platforms, the Chris Mortensen report from Super Bowl Sunday about Kyler being self-centered, immature, and finger pointing. Here's the problem, Dan. It used to be if you were a quarterback who did well enough to earn a second contract, the default was you became the next highest paid player in league history. And it would go up about $500,000 per year for each guy. And that went on for 6, 7, 8 guys. In the past 2 or 3 years, that's changed. You've got a $15 million per year spread from number 1 down to number 10. So yeah, the Cardinals want to sign the guy, but what do they want to pay him? They want to pay closer to 30, I believe, than 45. And his agent, Eric Burkhart, who also represents Cliff Kingsbury, which makes it even more awkward for the team, Burkhart's going to want closer to 45, if not more. And one of the points Burkhart made recently in response to the notion that Aaron Rodgers deserves $50 million, if not more, when you have announcers making $20 million a year, when Pat McAfee's getting $30 million a year from FanDuel, there's money in the system to support more for the guys who are actually playing the game. And I think that's where we're going to see this go. And Murray's going to be the first test case of how much Burkhart tries to get and how much the Cardinals are willing to pay.
I haven't heard anything about Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is far more worthy of an extension than Kyler Murray is.
Well, here's the problem. Lamar Jackson decided for whatever reason, and this is an individual personal decision that players need to make. He's decided to not have an agent. And when you make that decision, yes, you are going to save the 1, 2, or 3%.
Is his
commission.
mom still representing him?
Well, yeah, but here's the problem. There's really no one who's engaging with the Ravens. The Ravens were ready to sign him last year, but no one from Lamar's camp would engage them in real, meaningful negotiations aimed at getting a contract done. And if anything, you could argue his injuries last year and his overall performance last year may have damaged his leverage. And now they have a guy in Tyler Huntley that he's not Lamar Jackson, but he can run the same offense. And dollar for what it would take to keep Huntley around versus what it's going to take to make Jackson happy once they find out what that is, that's the reality. And when Josh Allen did his deal, Dan, same draft class, $43 million a year. When I saw the details of that deal, because I knew when I saw the initial report, once I see the details, I'm going to know, do the Ravens want to do this same deal with Jackson, or does Jackson want this deal? As soon as I read it and understood the details, this is a deal Jackson should want. So all he had to do was go into Eric DeCosta, the GM of the team, and say, let's take the Josh Allen contract. Let's scratch out Buffalo Bills and put in Ravens, scratch out Josh Allen, put in Lamar Jackson. Let's just do that. That's what they should have done. And it would have been in both sides' interest, because it's awkward for the Ravens to not have an agent to talk to. Because when there isn't an agent, sometimes you got to speak some hard truths in the negotiation. They can't do that with Lamar Jackson. They risk alienating him if they tell him why, they don't want to pay him $50 million a year. So it's a tough spot for everyone, but I feel bad for Jackson because he should have his deal by now. And because he's decided to go without an agent, he doesn't have it.
I didn't have an agent for a long time. And when you I sat down with Dick Ebersol. So here's one of the legendary sports figures in this business. And he couldn't do it. He said, I can't have these conversations. I'd never done this where I had the conversation about a contract with the person, not an agent. And he passed it off to, the guy underneath him, who had no problem in telling me some of my limitations there. But he couldn't do it. He just said, no, it's too awkward there. And I just remember walking out of his office and my wife said, how did it go? I said, he couldn't have a conversation with me about it. He had never done something like that. The NFL offseason, the overtime rule, the competition committee, to me, it feels like there's a logical end game here, and it's just both teams get a chance to have the ball. And maybe it's just in the postseason. Like, I don't know how you modify this, how do you tweak it? But it feels like, hey, you score a touchdown, we still get a chance, and then everybody's going to be happy here. Is it as simple as that, Mike?
It really is, Dan. And in the days up to the Super Bowl, when we had the 5-hour pregame show and I had to go shake the trees to try to have something to actually, talk about when they put the camera on me and said, go, one of the things I tried to delve into was what's going to happen with postseason overtime. And it's, as of 3 weeks ago, it's more of a matter of which way is the wind blowing, but it was blowing in this direction. Guaranteed possession for each team. No gimmicks, nothing different than just playing football. But it would be in the postseason only. Now, the Colts have proposed a change that would apply postseason and regular season. I don't think they're going to touch regular season. They don't want to extend the games in the regular season. In fact, I'd be fine with them going back to straight sudden death in the regular season just to get the game over with and let the teams get ready for the next week. And I won't be surprised if that happens at some point. But for the postseason, you got to guarantee a possession to each team. You can't have these results, not with the rules so skewed toward offense. The just play defense argument doesn't work in 2022. It may have worked in 1982. It doesn't work now because the rules are too conducive. And when you get to the postseason, you've got the best quarterbacks. They're more likely to drive down the length of the field and score a touchdown and walk off the winner. I think that it's going to end up being a guaranteed possession and a great strategic decision to be made by the team that matches. You're down 7, you score. Do you go for 2 and the win or the loss? Or do you go for 1 and then kick off knowing it's now sudden death?
He's Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk Live co-host, and his new book is called Playmakers, Guaranteed to Upset Everybody in the NFL. Comes out March 15th. Can be purchased online wherever books are sold. You had the Sean Payton, Tom Brady story on Pro Football Talk. And the Dolphins were interested in coupling these two guys. When did this story emerge? Like, how close was this to fruition?
Well, I first heard about it even before Sean Payton resigned from the Saints. And it's something that's been lingering and building. And we got to a point last week where we thought there was enough there to report responsibly, not to be confused with my usual irresponsible reports, that the Dolphins were indeed planning to make a run at a package deal of Payton and Brady. And the Flores lawsuit killed it. Now, I don't know who decided to pull the plug. It's very easy to say the Dolphins realized we can't do this now. We can't do this, wink, nod, set everything up ahead of time, get Sean Payton, get Tom Brady. We can't do that given the content and the allegations and the gravity of the Brian Flores lawsuit. It's also possible the league said you can't do that. And, I've kind of heard rumors along those lines, but can't substantiate that the league intervened and said to the Dolphins, you can't do it. And Dan, one thing that fascinates me, and I'm trying to find out the answer to this question. How much of the Brian Flores lawsuit, for example, the allegation in there that he was pressured by Stephen Ross, the owner of the team, to meet with a prominent quarterback in violation of the rules, and everybody knows it was Tom Brady back in 2020. How much of the lawsuit was aimed at putting the kibosh on the Payton-Brady coupling in Miami if Flores knew it was coming, if he'd caught wind of it? Did his lawsuit in part, was it written in part, drafted in part, timed in part to keep the Dolphins from doing it? That's something I'm trying to find out. But that's fascinating. If Flores just decided, you know what, screw these guys. They violated my rights. They fired me when I should have continued to be there. They tried to get me to do things that they shouldn't have expected me to do, and they got mad at me because of it. They got this grand plan for 2022. This lawsuit's going to keep that plan from coming to fruition. It'd be fascinating if that was part of why Flores said what he said and did what he did when he did it.
You're going Oliver Stone there on me.
Listen, we know this league well enough to know there's always something going on behind the curtain. That's why we love it.
But you've been on this story before anybody, and that is Tom Brady to the 49ers. And it feels like it's been at least a year, maybe a couple of years where you've toyed with it or thrown it out there or rumor, innuendo. Can you still see Tom Brady playing again? And if so, is it for the 49ers?
Oh, absolutely. And I got to give Sims credit. He's the one that first brought that to fruition a couple of years ago, that Brady wanted to play for the 49ers when he was a free agent after leaving the Patriots, or while he was in the process of doing so. And the 49ers said, no, thank you. It's like, okay, good luck. Good luck with Jimmy Garoppolo. And I think the 49ers would admit that they'd probably have a Super Bowl trophy or two if they had gone with Tom Brady instead of Jimmy G. But I think that Tom Brady, especially after this Sean Payton, Miami Dolphins, Tom Brady thing, I don't think he's retired, Dan. I think he's retired from the Buccaneers. That's what I think the retirement was. I think he's trying to find a graceful exit from Tampa Bay. He got his Super Bowl win. Last year, they took a step back. And now I think he is eyeing a place where he walks through the door with the deck stacked in his favor. And what place other than San Francisco? Give Trey Lance another season to sit. You walk into a team that's Super Bowl ready, that is dangerous defensively, that has great weapons offensively. You got a quarterback who can make big throws in big spots. The 49ers become a short-list Super Bowl favorite if Tom Brady ends up there. The question is, how much of a fight will the Buccaneers put up if he decides in June or July that he wants to leave. And I would say they owe it to him to give him what he wants. He brought a Super Bowl trophy to a team that had no business being in the Super Bowl, and he filled the stadium last year. I think they should work with him and give him what he wants, if that's what he wants to do. But I think he's coming back. I just think he's trying to find a way out of Tampa.
Are you willing to bet on that?
How much?
Like a pie to the face?
Oh, a pie to the face. I mean, pie to the face is nothing. It depends. I mean, unless it's like, an acid pie.
No.
It's just a normal pie.
A pie of your choice. Anybody want to take Florio up on a pie to the face? Paulie will say that Brady does not come back?
Just the Niners we're talking, right?
Just the Niners.
I'll do it.
Okay. So pie to the face, Florio.
Wait, week 1 Niners. If he's on the Niners, who takes a pie to the face?
Paulie does. Paulie does.
And if he's not on the Niners, then I take the pie to the face.
Yes.
Okay.
You come on the show, and maybe your wife can administer, or Chris Sims could administer a pie to the face.
Yeah, it may have to be a virtual pie to the face, but I'll tell you, my wife would very much enjoy the assignment
Yes,
of slamming a pie into my face.
Yes, he.
I feel like week 1 is a very important part of this bet.
Why?
Because couldn't you see Tom Brady maybe like somewhere later in the season joining the 49ers?
No, I nothing Brady does is, by accident. Like, everything is structured. Everything is planned out. I don't think he's going to go, maybe I'll join them week 6. I think if he's planning, then he's planning now, and he would be there. He would want to be there week 1. Last thing you want to do is all of a sudden Trey Lance plays well, and then you get Brady, and you're like, why did we get Brady? Trey Lance is here. Pie to the face. I like that. Oh, I got to ask you, because everybody has breathlessly been talking about this, that Aaron Rodgers wasn't in the London promo for the Packers in the Abbey Road picture there. Where do you stand on this, Mike?
I think if you take the original 12-inch vinyl Abbey Road and put it on track 3 of side 1 and run it backwards, it says Aaron Rodgers is staying in Green Bay. They had no idea how prescient they were.
Oh, my God. We got to be finding out here soon. Doesn't it feel like today with McAfee, he announces what he's going to do?
I think he's staying. Look, when the news comes out that they're working on a contract, why are you working on a contract if you're not staying? And it's smart for him to work out the contract before he gives him an answer, because he's got leverage.
Yeah.
If he says, I'm coming back, now let's work out a contract, there's no leverage left to be had.
And it's this report that he wants $50 million a year, to me, is not surprising. Like you've talked about, if I'm the Packers, I just say, I'm going to call your bluff. Here's 2 years, $100 million guaranteed. Exactly. That's it. Ball game. And
there's no owner in Green Bay that's siphoning off millions to, go buy a super yacht.
Yeah.
They can invest every penny they make back in the team, and they've raised like $70 million through their non-stock stock sale. They can do this easily. I think he's going to stay. Dan, where else is he going to go and have a team around him like what he has in Green Bay? He's not going to walk in somewhere else and be a Super Bowl winner. His best chance is to stay in a division where the Bears have a new GM and coach, the Vikings have a new GM and coach, the Lions are in year 2 of their latest reboot. The schedule is favorable this year. They could be the number 1 seed again. The question is, can they finish the job and get to the Super Bowl?
Great to talk to you as always, and good luck with the book.
Thanks, Dan.
That's Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, and the book is called Playmakers. It's out March 15th.